Hello, beautiful Libra. Over the next 48 hours, something important may begin revealing itself, and this is far from an ordinary moment. Friday, June 26th and Saturday, June 27th arrive carrying the feeling of a curtain slowly being drawn back, exposing something that has been quietly taking shape beneath the surface for much longer than you may realize. While many people may move through these days sensing that something feels different without fully understanding why, you are being given an opportunity to recognize the deeper pattern unfolding behind the scenes. This is not random, and it is certainly not appearing out of nowhere. The universe seems to be guiding your attention back toward a question, a desire, or a choice that has been patiently waiting for your honesty. If you felt drawn toward a relationship, a financial opportunity, a new direction, or even a truth about yourself that feels both exciting and uncomfortable at the same time, stay with this message. There is a reason that pull has grown stronger recently, and understanding that reason could completely change how you navigate the days ahead. Ignoring this moment may mean more than simply overlooking an opportunity. It could mean missing a rare chance to bring your outer world into alignment with what your inner world has been trying to communicate for weeks. The reality is that you've been moving through a period of preparation for quite some time, even if it didn't seem dramatic on the surface. What is coming into focus now did not begin yesterday, and it certainly did not begin this week. Throughout June, Venus, your ruling planet in the celestial force connected to love, values, beauty, relationships, and self-worth, has been highlighting important questions about what truly deserves your energy. Rather than encouraging impulsive action, Venus has been inviting reflection. Again and again, life may have shown you where you were preserving harmony at the expense of authenticity, where you were prioritizing everyone else's comfort, while quietly setting your own needs aside. These lessons may have appeared subtle at first, but their impact has been much deeper than you realized. Earlier in the month, moments of inspiration may have arrived unexpectedly. Perhaps you suddenly saw a clearer vision of the future you want, or maybe you experienced a powerful realization about a relationship, a career path, or a personal goal. For a brief moment, everything seemed easier to understand. It felt as though a veil had lifted, allowing you to see beyond old doubts and familiar limitations. Yet genuine clarity rarely arrives without being tested. As June continued unfolding, practical concerns entered the picture. Delays emerged. Questions surfaced. Circumstances demanded a more realistic evaluation of what could truly support your future. If you felt frustrated, uncertain, or restricted lately, it may have been because life was encouraging you to transform inspiration into wisdom rather than allowing possibility to remain a fantasy. Then, another shift quietly began taking place. Your desires became more refined. Your standards became clearer. You may have noticed yourself becoming less willing to settle for situations, relationships, or compromises that no longer reflect your values. This wasn't about becoming difficult or demanding. It was about recognizing that self-respect and meaningful connection are meant to grow together rather than compete against one another. Now, as June approaches its final days, Venus carries a very different message than she did at the beginning of the month. She is no longer focused solely on possibility. She has gathered insight through every realization, every disappointment, every moment of honesty, and every lesson about what truly matters. As Friday gradually transitions into Saturday, that same clarity may begin asking something of you. Before we go further, if these messages bring you clarity, comfort, or guidance during important moments like this, you can support the channel through the link in the description or the QR code on your screen. Every contribution helps keep these videos flowing and allows these messages to continue reaching the people who may need them at exactly the right time. And to everyone who has already offered support in any form, thank you. Your kindness helps make this space possible. Meanwhile, another process has been unfolding quietly in the background. Jupiter, the planet associated with growth, abundance, opportunity, and expansion, has been regaining momentum after a long season of reflection. Since late 2025, many of Jupiter's lessons have been developing beneath the surface, encouraging you to reconsider what stability, fulfillment, and emotional security truly mean. Progress may not always have been visible, but important changes have been taking place within your foundation. As Jupiter moved forward once again, those inner discoveries began gathering strength. What once felt like scattered insights started forming a larger picture. The lessons of recent months have been preparing you for this exact period, asking you to take what you've learned and apply it in a real and meaningful way. Your understanding of relationships, boundaries, priorities, and future goals is becoming increasingly difficult to ignore. That is why these next 48 hours feel so significant. The wisdom Venus has been cultivating throughout June is meeting the growth Jupiter has been preparing behind the scenes. This is less about disruption and more about revelation. Something you sense for quite some time may finally become clear enough that you can no longer pretend not to see it. Let's be honest about the energy involved. The tension you may feel during these days is not here to punish you or create unnecessary stress. It appears when two important truths are asking to be integrated instead of avoided. You may find yourself standing between preserving harmony and speaking honestly, between protecting a connection and honoring your own needs, between maintaining peace and acknowledging what your heart already knows. Venus and Jupiter are traditionally considered two of astrology's most supportive influences. Together, they often bring opportunities, blessings, meaningful developments, and personal growth. Yet when their energies become activated at the same time, there can also be a temptation to believe that every possibility deserves equal attention. That is exactly why discernment becomes one of your greatest strengths now. The real challenge is not choosing between risk and safety. It is deciding whether you are ready to choose authenticity over endless hesitation. One part of you longs for harmony, understanding, and connection. Another part recognizes that genuine harmony cannot be built on silence, avoidance, or truths that remain unspoken. As Friday unfolds and Saturday draws nearer, this inner conversation may become increasingly difficult to ignore. Part of you may want to preserve everything exactly as it is, protecting the balance you've worked so carefully to create. Yet another part of you may recognize that a meaningful choice, conversation, or realization can no longer be postponed, even if acknowledging it changes the way you see everything that came before. Another part of you may feel drawn toward what is familiar, wanting to protect the comfort, stability, and emotional balance you worked so hard to create. The tension between these two impulses may feel stronger than usual as June approaches its final weekend. It can feel like standing at a crossroads where both paths hold value, making neither choice easy to dismiss. One direction offers the safety of what you already know, while the other quietly asks whether your current reality still reflects who you are becoming. Many people will find this energy difficult to navigate. Some will postpone a decision altogether, hoping clarity will arrive without requiring any action from them. Others may move too quickly, seeking immediate relief from uncertainty, only to realize later that they never gave themselves enough time to understand what they truly wanted. But there is another path available, one that becomes visible when you stop viewing this moment as a problem to solve and start seeing it as an invitation to understand yourself more deeply. Let's talk about what this may mean for your heart, your relationships, and the connections that matter most. As Venus continues highlighting themes of love, values, and emotional truth, someone may enter your awareness who feels surprisingly different from your usual type. There may be an immediate sense of recognition, not necessarily because this person fits a fantasy, but because they reflect something important you've recently discovered about yourself. The attraction may feel meaningful in ways that are difficult to explain logically. The challenge is not the connection itself. The challenge is remaining present enough to see it clearly. After a period of reflection and longing, it can be tempting to attach a larger story to someone before they've had the chance to reveal who they really are. Possibility has a way of feeling magical when you've been searching for answers, and that excitement can sometimes blur the details that deserve your attention. If you stay aware of that tendency, a healthier opportunity emerges. The relationship choice that supports your growth is not about losing yourself in anticipation or trying to become what someone else wants. It is about remaining connected to your own truth while allowing the connection to unfold naturally. Venus is not asking you to chase an illusion. She is asking you to honor what genuinely aligns with your heart. This is where honest communication becomes powerful. It may sound like saying, "These are the things that matter most to me. These are the values I want to build my life around. These are the places where I can no longer abandon myself for the sake of harmony." There is a quiet strength in that kind of honesty because it creates space for genuine understanding rather than assumptions. If you're already in a relationship, these final days of June may bring important conversations closer to the surface. Topics you've delayed because you wanted to avoid conflict or preserve peace may begin asking for your attention again. The parts of yourself that have been waiting for greater understanding, fairness, balance, or emotional reciprocity may finally become impossible to ignore. What once felt easier to leave unsaid may now feel ready to be expressed. The relationship choice that creates growth is rooted in authenticity rather than performance. Emotional security is not created by constantly adapting yourself to maintain approval. Strong relationships become stronger when both people feel safe enough to be honest about who they are. One of the deeper lessons Venus has been teaching throughout June is that connection and self-respect were never meant to exist on opposite sides of the scale. You are not being asked to choose between love and truth. You are not being asked to sacrifice your own needs in order to keep everyone comfortable. Instead, these days are showing you that meaningful relationships have room for both honesty and harmony. The more willing you are to acknowledge what your heart already understands, the stronger the foundation becomes for everything that follows. Now let's look at what this energy may mean for finances, resources, and long-term stability. Venus influences not only relationships, but also your sense of value, including how you relate to money, investments, and personal resources. Jupiter continues drawing attention toward growth, possibility, and future expansion. As these energies become more active, financial decisions may feel larger, more emotionally significant, and more connected to your long-term vision than usual. The challenging side of this influence is relatively easy to recognize. It can appear as emotional spending, rushing into commitments, overestimating resources, or convincing yourself that details can be figured out later. During these final days of June, optimism may feel especially persuasive. The temptation to focus only on the potential reward without fully considering the practical side of the equation deserves careful attention. Yet the deeper lesson here has never been about recklessness. Jupiter's recent shift forward encourages growth that is supported by wisdom rather than impulse. The opportunities worth exploring are the ones connected to lasting value, meaningful progress, and something tangible you can continue building over time. Excitement may open the door, but stability is what determines whether the opportunity endures. The financial decision that supports you now is likely rooted in preparation, self-worth, and long-term intention. It may involve asking for the compensation you deserve because you recognize the value of your contributions. It may involve committing to something that strengthens your future, even though it requires courage. It may even involve finally moving forward with a project or plan you've spent months refining because you know the foundation is ready. This energy rewards thoughtful confidence far more than impulsive action. It favors people who can connect present choices with future outcomes, balancing growth with responsibility. The most beneficial decisions are rarely the loudest ones. They are often the choices that quietly align today's actions with tomorrow's stability. There is another reason these 2 days feel especially meaningful. The tension you've been feeling is only part of the story. As Friday gradually gives way to Saturday, subtle openings for insight may begin appearing. A conversation, a realization, an unexpected piece of information, or even a simple shift in perspective could arrive at exactly the right moment. You can think of this as the universe illuminating something that was previously hidden in shadow. A situation that once felt complicated may suddenly reveal a much simpler truth. A possibility you hadn't fully considered may come into view, or an unexpected opportunity may confirm what you've already been sensing beneath the surface. Often the most important breakthroughs arrive quietly, rather than dramatically. As these days continue unfolding, emotional intensity may gradually transform into understanding. Situations that once felt overwhelming may begin organizing themselves into a clearer picture. You may find it easier to release the need to control every outcome and place greater trust in the wisdom you gained through recent experiences. This energy encourages reflection, acceptance, and a growing confidence in what your heart has been trying to show you all along. So these next 2 days are far more than a brief moment of tension or uncertainty. They unfold like a journey, moving from awareness into understanding and then toward a deeper sense of acceptance. What begins as a lingering question may gradually reveal a clearer answer, and what first feels confusing may start forming a pattern that suddenly makes sense. For many people, the final weekend of June carries the feeling of multiple lessons converging at once, creating a powerful moment of realization within a very short span of time. Remember earlier when I mentioned that persistent pull you've been feeling? There is a reason it has become harder to ignore. As Jupiter continues gaining momentum after months of internal recalibration, many people are beginning to notice shifts in perspective that were quietly developing beneath the surface. Thoughts that once seemed easy to dismiss may now keep returning, asking for attention in ways they never did before. You may have noticed yourself revisiting the same conversation, replaying a particular memory, or returning to a decision that refuses to leave your mind. Perhaps a certain possibility keeps resurfacing, no matter how many times you tell yourself you'll think about it later. These recurring themes are often signals that an important realization is moving closer to conscious awareness. Something inside you recognizes that there is unfinished understanding waiting to emerge. At first, this may feel like restlessness, uncertainty, or even emotional distraction, yet in many cases, it is something deeper than that. As Venus continues highlighting questions around values, relationships, and authenticity, and Jupiter encourages a broader vision of your future, your inner world may be trying to connect pieces that previously seemed unrelated. What feels confusing today may actually be the early stages of clarity taking shape. As Friday gradually transitions into Saturday, that awareness may become stronger. You may notice that postponing a decision requires more energy than facing it honestly. Situations that once felt easy to place on hold may suddenly demand a closer look. Your intuition may be trying to bring something into focus before your analytical mind fully understands why it matters. People experience this in different ways. Some notice a recurring theme appearing through conversations, unexpected encounters, or repeated reminders. Others find themselves drawn back to the same question over and over again. The specific form matters less than the underlying message because something meaningful is asking to be acknowledged rather than avoided. Instead of pushing those feelings away, give yourself permission to sit with them. You do not need to force immediate answers, nor do you need to rush toward a decision before you're ready. Some of the clearest guidance emerges when you stop arguing with what your heart has been trying to reveal. Within that discomfort, there is often valuable wisdom waiting to be recognized. Of course, not everyone will navigate this period in the same way. Understanding the common pitfalls can help you avoid them. One group of people will respond by chasing immediate relief rather than genuine clarity. They will make choices based entirely on emotional urgency, hoping a quick decision will remove the discomfort they feel. They may leave behind something stable simply because they feel restless. They may walk away from commitments before fully understanding what they are searching for. In some cases, they may mistake temporary frustration for intuition and confuse emotional impulses with deeper truth. Those choices often become lessons that only reveal themselves after consequences begin to unfold. Another group will struggle for the opposite reason. They will recognize the opportunity for growth, feel the shift taking place, and then refuse to move at all. Fear, doubt, and overthinking will convince them to remain exactly where they are, even when part of them already knows a change is needed. They will continue postponing what needs attention until the moment slowly passes. Later, many of these individuals may look back and wonder why they ignored what they already sensed. They will remember the conversations, the signs, the repeated nudges, and the opportunities that appeared during this period. Their regret will not come from choosing incorrectly. It will come from never allowing themselves to choose at all. The people who move through these days successfully approach the energy differently. They acknowledge the tension without becoming controlled by it. They understand that growth often emerges when two important truths appear to conflict with one another. Rather than forcing an either-or decision, they search for the deeper alignment hidden beneath the surface. These are the people who are willing to have honest conversations because they value connection enough to strengthen it. They express their needs without abandoning empathy for another person's perspective. They understand that meaningful relationships are built through sincerity, transparency, and mutual understanding rather than performance or avoidance. They bring the same wisdom into financial matters as well. Instead of chasing appearances, status, or quick rewards, they focus on choices that support long-term stability and genuine value. They invest their energy, resources, and attention into foundations they trust. Their confidence grows from preparation, patience, and self-awareness rather than impulse. They also pay attention to their inner guidance. When a realization continues returning, they listen. When reflection is necessary, they allow space for it. And when action becomes appropriate, they move forward with intention. Rather than choosing between harmony and authenticity, they learn how to honor both without sacrificing either. These are the people who may eventually look back on June 26th and 27th, 2026 as a meaningful turning point. They may remember it as the period when self-doubt began losing its hold, when clarity became stronger than hesitation, and when they finally trusted what they had known deep down for quite some time. It becomes less about a dramatic event and more about a quiet but significant shift in direction. There is another reason these days deserve your attention. The combination of influences surrounding the final weekend of June carries a quality that does not appear every day. Jupiter's renewed momentum, Venus's ongoing lessons around values and relationships, and the accumulation of everything you've been learning throughout the month are creating a uniquely meaningful opening. It is the kind of timing that often feels purposeful in hindsight. This is why the opportunity should not be dismissed as mere coincidence. Too many pieces have been aligning for too long, and too many lessons have been leading toward this moment. The pattern has become increasingly clear, and the message is growing harder to ignore with each passing day. Like any meaningful window of potential, it remains available for a time, inviting your attention before it gradually begins to close. As these days continue unfolding, the energy surrounding this moment will gradually begin to change. The emotional intensity you've been carrying may start to soften, the pressure you felt may slowly ease, and the question that feels so important right now may not feel quite as urgent by the time July begins to emerge on the horizon. That doesn't mean the opportunity disappears or loses its value. It simply means that certain periods carry a unique concentration of potential, and the final days of June happen to be one of those periods. This isn't about creating artificial urgency or convincing you to rush toward a decision before you're ready. It is about recognizing that there are moments when awareness becomes unusually sharp, and when life's deeper lessons seem to gather in one place at the same time. As Venus continues highlighting matters of truth, value, relationships, and self-respect, and Jupiter encourages a broader vision of your future, Friday and Saturday offer a rare opportunity to see something clearly before the energy naturally begins shifting into its next chapter. So what can you do with that awareness right now? The next 48 hours offer a valuable period of preparation, and that preparation begins with honesty. Ask yourself what you genuinely want beneath all the expectations, responsibilities, and outside opinions. Not what appears practical on the surface, not what would make everyone else comfortable, and not what you think you're supposed to choose, but what your deepest self continues returning to whenever you're completely honest with yourself. Write it down if that helps clarify your thoughts. Speak it aloud if hearing the words makes them feel more real. Give yourself permission to acknowledge that desire without immediately dismissing it, explaining it away, or convincing yourself that it isn't possible. Sometimes clarity begins the moment we stop arguing with what we already know. Next, take a closer look at the choice standing in front of you. What would need to shift if you truly decided to move in the direction your heart keeps pointing toward? Which conversation have you been delaying because it feels uncomfortable? Which truth keeps resurfacing despite your attempts to focus elsewhere? Which decision continues appearing in your thoughts, no matter how many times you promise yourself you'll deal with it later? Then, examine the foundation beneath that desire. Is this choice connected to something meaningful that you genuinely want to create and nurture over time? Or is it simply a reaction to temporary discomfort? Are you moving toward greater authenticity, fulfillment, and alignment? Or are you merely trying to escape something that feels difficult in the present moment? These distinctions matter more than they may initially appear. One of the deeper lessons of this period is that meaningful growth rarely comes from excitement alone. Venus has spent much of June encouraging reflection on what truly deserves your energy, while Jupiter's renewed momentum has been expanding your understanding of what long-term fulfillment looks like. Together, they are asking whether your choices support both your truth and your future. The opportunities with the greatest potential are often the ones rooted in both. And when Friday or Saturday brings that familiar feeling, that quiet but persistent sense that something important requires your attention, trust yourself enough to listen. Have the conversation that keeps returning to your thoughts. Acknowledge the truth that has been waiting patiently beneath the surface. Make the choice that has been asking for your awareness, because clarity only becomes transformative when it is honored through action. What happens after that? The story does not end with these 2 days. In many ways, this is simply the moment where several weeks of lessons begin revealing their purpose. The confusion surrounding certain situations may start lifting, and the direction that once felt uncertain may slowly become easier to recognize. As the final days of June give way to the opening energy of July, the choices you make now may begin taking visible form. What starts as an internal realization can gradually become something tangible in your everyday life. Insights become conversations. Decisions become actions. Awareness becomes experience. The uncertainty that once felt overwhelming may begin settling into understanding. Questions that seemed impossible to answer may reveal simpler solutions than you expected. What once looked like a difficult decision may eventually reveal itself as an act of self-trust, one that helped you align your outer life with what your inner world already understood. Little by little, tension gives way to clarity, and clarity becomes something you can build upon. Yet all of that depends on how you respond during these next 48 hours. It depends on whether you are willing to face what is true rather than continuing to postpone it. It depends on whether you trust your own wisdom enough to move forward when the path becomes visible. The opportunity is not asking for perfection, it is asking for honesty. That is why June 26th and 27th, 2026 may become a meaningful turning point in hindsight. Not because they guarantee immediate results or dramatic overnight changes, but because they offer a rare chance to choose clarity over hesitation, alignment over avoidance, and authenticity over endless second-guessing. Some moments change your life through action, while others change it through realization, and these 2 days carry the potential for both. If this message resonated with you and helped bring greater clarity to your journey, consider subscribing so you can continue receiving future videos. Your support helps these messages reach those who may need them at exactly the right moment. Feel free to share your thoughts, experiences, or reflections in the comments below, and stay connected for more meaningful and insightful content.